Yo, peace to the family. All right, so I told you guys I was gonna talk about this video about the up and coming movie, the up and coming fantasy movie, um, Bone Blood or Bad Bone, Bad Bone. I don't want to get the movie mixed up by title, but the movie is a fantasy movie with Damson Idris, right? And it's going to be a conception of highlights of where we think and what we thought in the ancient times. How I know already is because I've been studying ancient African history for quite some time. Not as long as some, or a lot of elders and things like that. Not nowhere near as long as them. But I seen things like Damson Idris is wearing this piece, right? It's almost like a necklace design, but a very thick necklace that has designs in it, right? And it kind of puts you in mind if you guys ever seen Power Rangers and the Green Ranger. He used to have like this kind of like a vest thing going around the neck, right? I don't know if you guys remember that. I don't know if you old enough to remember that. But with that being said, it is called a wasek, right? A wasek. It's an ancient necklace that goes so far back. I'm talking about thousands and thousands of years back in the before Common Era, right? BCE. It goes as far back as that, because you can go and you can look and you can see that all of the ancestors was all wearing the same thing, and it represents the nobility and certain power within their community. And I seen that Damson Idris had that on in the movie, right? So what I know is that they already have an idea and direction of where we came from in ancient times, right? But where I want to get to is that after this, no more fantasy movies, guys. Black directors, black community, no more fantasy movies. Let's cross the line, right? Let's cross the line. Hollywood has never wanted anything to do with the idea of the ancient African history, right? We only got as far as Black Panther, Wakanda, which is another idea, right? But we've never been able to get to the next level with our real ancient history, right? We can only go as far as fantasy movies. We all know that Hollywood is big on fantasy and sci-fi, which they have. Superman has always been the face of fantasy when it comes to comic, right? Or comics, DC, Marvel. Superman has always been the face. Superman has always been a Eurocentric centered character. All the way back to the 60s, we all know Superman being Superman, Eurocentric Superman. There has never been a black Superman in the history of comics. And we've been on this country land of a civilized country land as far back as 250 years. Okay? So with that being said, there's always going to be a misconstruction with information, because we're always focused on fucking fantasy. Fantasy is cool, but we actually have real deep ancient history, right? And it's going to be a beautiful thing when these directors like Ryan Coogler and an amazing director that's put the Bad Blood or the Bad Bone movie together. It's going to be amazing when they are able to take a step forward, go to ancient Kemet, study with the elders of ancient Kemet, go to when I say ancient Kemet, you guys don't understand that is what we call today Egypt, right? Because before Egypt, it was Kemet. Before Kemet, it was Nubia. And what I'm saying is that they need to go there, study, build up a great repertoire for years to come, and then come out with a movie to make a blockbuster hit in Hollywood. Because for me, I think that for this community, for the for the black community overall, especially within America, to get an understanding, man, of how beautiful, how rich the history has been, that you never know, that you've never been told, right? When everybody say, oh, who's the ancient Egyptian, they're all black people. They're all black people, African American, African nationals. They're all black people. It's all through the same fucking DNA, right? So with that being said, you go there, you go to Abydos, you see all of the beautiful architecture and the engraving of the ancient Comedians, ancient Egyptians, however you want to call it. And you see the beautiful art that they left behind to let you know who you've always been. And there's always been kings and queens all the way back to the Kushites in Nubia, right? You go to the Kushites, you see in their artwork and their design is all relatively similar to ancient Kemet. And they're all black people inside of that artwork. So there's no real secret anymore. I think the word is getting out. I think that the community is starting to kind of get a small understanding. And, they got the FBA going on and all of this and that. But we all come from the same mold there. You know what I'm saying? And it's a beautiful thing for them to, like I said, make the real movies. Let's move off from the fantasy, because once you do that, do you know how informative that'll be, especially here in America? But the problem is that they might be afraid to cross the line. And in Hollywood, you know what happens if you cross the line in Hollywood. You know what happens. Things get really dirty, right? So I think that that's the reason as to why we've never pressed the issue on this from years ago. They don't want to cross the line. They're just kind of getting their foot in the door, making, more black movies, fantasy black movies. And, we got great directors like Ryan Coogler, but we can only go as far as fantasy. Black Panther, Wakanda. But we still got the idea of the direction of how the culture carried itself so many years ago. And same with this movie. Like I said, I seen the Wasek that Damson Idris had, and it represents the exact same Wasek from today in Africa, as the African nationals still wear the Wasek today. And that goes far back as 5000 BC. If you go into the artwork of in ancient Egypt, you're going to see them wearing the same shit. Nothing has changed. If you go to America, when you see that crazy necklace, that crazy chain that the community has always wore, that it has always been so amazing, proficient, and has illustrated, how amazing, the culture has been by the gold ropes, the gold this, the gold that, since as far back as the 80s. That has always been a connection to the representation of our people. Always. It's always been the same. But this all started so far back. But what I'm saying is, and I don't want to get too far off the topic, is that we must dig. Make movies that are real. We've had enough of fantasy movies. Everybody has had enough of fantasy movies. Let's make real history. People want to see what really happened. Because when you go to Greece, hold on. In Hollywood, when they represented our ancient ancestors and stuff like that, when they represented us, they did a terrible fucking job, because they let Brendan Fraser be the face of what they called at the time the Mummy, right? And what happens is, when you represent that, is that the Mummy has represented monsters. Shit is wicked. When you go to ancient Egypt, you got to be careful, because you're going to get cursed. You know what I'm saying? It's always been nasty representations of that place being in Africa. It's always been a nasty representation. But when you go to Greece, on the other hand, everything is beautiful, everything is classical, everything is art, everything is A-OK. Go to Greece. But when you talk about going to Africa, which is Egypt is in Africa, is like, oh, well, you know, this is bad, that is bad. You know, this kid has that, this kid has that, this community looks like this is villagers, this is mud huts, shit like that. You see what I'm saying? So it's always been a bad representation of the community. So we gotta inform. And once we inform by using the big screen, I think a lot of things will change. On a mental perspective, a lot of things are gonna change. You're gonna get to see that, you know, your ancient ancestors came from kings and queens, like real kings and queens. I'm not talking about no fantasy shit out of a comic book. With legit evidence, with legit bodies, because remember, they've always dug up the bodies and put them on a platform, statues, and, you know, got locks and shit. You know what I'm saying? That's your ancestors that they've always misrepresented and said that they were this people, or that they were that people, or that were this people, but they was never you. So if we can inform Ryan Coogler, great director, if we can inform the people how the shit really went down, then this place will be a big mental change. All right. So with that being said, man, I just wanted to touch on that. I told you I was. So appreciate you guys taking a listen, man. Until next time, guys. Peace to the family. Peace to the guys.